morning, Mark.
Mike and Dana, good morning to you both. Democrats insist the large crowds who are showing up to hear from the vice president prove she's got a winning message. But when it comes to specifics about what a Harris-Walz administration would actually do, that's a bit harder to decipher. Over the last week, we saw the vice president on the stump, mostly sticking to the traditional speech, which includes attacks on former President Trump, a promise to boost the middle class, and an effort to restore Roe v. Wade. But as Politico points out this morning, there are some things missing. Politico writing, her stump speech has framed the campaign as a fight for the future without saying much about what precisely that future would entail. There's no 100-day agenda, let alone a detailed tax policy white paper. Now, Harris says she will do more of the economic plans later on this week. We're going to be watching to see if she further embraces Bidenomics or if she's going to distance herself from it. And what about fracking? It's a hot-button issue in places like Pennsylvania. The Harris campaign, she says she no longer backs efforts to ban fracking, but critics then point to clips like this.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
Harris says she plans to do a sit-down interview within weeks. It's likely then she'd face more direct questions about any policy flip-flops. Trump says he's ready to talk about it right now. He posted this morning, Harris has flip-flopped on virtually every policy she has supported and lived by for her entire career. From the border to tips, and the fake news media isn't reporting it. She sounds more like Trump than Trump, copying almost everything. So that's how the former president feels about all of this. He's going to be talking about the economy this week as well.
All right, my friends, J.R. Dukes at your service. Appreciate you joining me today. Welcome to all my free-minded friends. If you're new with the channel, thank you for joining us. Be sure to take a minute, hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. It helps with the channel, it gets it out in the algorithm. We can bring the message to more people. Today, we're going to continue our chat about Kamala Harris's constant and continuing flip-flopping of the issues. As we approach this 2024 presidential election, it is very important that we discuss what's going on with Kamala Harris and her new running partner, Tim Walz. My friends, we are witnessing an unprecedented amount of flip-flopping, deception, and outright manipulation from a candidate who says she wants to be our next commander-in-chief. And yes, of course, I'm talking about the current Vice President, Kamala Harris. Since the coronation of Kamala Harris, remember the election was literally ripped from Joe Biden and was effectively given to Kamala Harris, even though President Joe Biden received approximately 17 million votes to be the top of the Democratic ticket, and Harris received no votes. The powers that be decided that she indeed ought to be the head of the ticket, and that's what they have apparently done. Now, the Democrats want us to believe that the alleged large crowds that Kamala Harris is now drawing, and believe me, there's a lot of discrepancy on the internet and in the mainstream news as to whether or not all of these crowds are really that big and whether or not there's some kind of AI manipulation going on or whatever. Something does not seem right. But even if she's having large crowds, you got to remember, former President Donald Trump, he is the king of large crowds. I think the legacy news media loves to ignore the fact that, if I remember correctly, just on one of his recent campaigns in Wildwood, New Jersey, there was over 130,000 people there in attendance to listen to former President Donald Trump at one of his campaign stops. Of course, the Democrats want you to believe that Kamala Harris and these alleged large crowds she's having is proof of her winning message, but I don't think so. Let's not be fooled by the alleged size of the crowds. When you dig into the facts pertaining to Kamala Harris and you take a hard look at what she is actually saying and what she has said in the past, you find out it's nothing more than the typical smoke and mirrors. Empty rhetoric designed to appeal to everyone, but in reality appealing to no one. Let's start with her stump speech, her typical stump speech she's been giving, which has become a predictable mix of attacks on former President Donald Trump, vague promises to boost the middle class, and of course she's always pledging to restore Roe v. Wade. But here's the kicker. While Harris is promising all of us the moon, she's providing zero details on exactly how she's going to get us there and exactly what she stands for. Politico recently pointed out something very telling, very revealing. Despite all of her talk about fighting for the future, she has not put forward one comprehensive plan as to what the future should look like. There's no 100-day agenda. There is no detailed tax policy. Nothing. Zip. just empty promises and very vague ideas. My friends, I got to ask you, is this really what we want in a leader, in a person that wants to be the president of the United States? Harris claims she'll be unveiling more economic policies very soon. But let's be honest, does anybody actually believe that she's going to deliver, that she's actually going to give us details on what she stands for or what she wants to do with specifics? I don't think so. Or is she just going to give us the same old tired BS dressed up as what she has called Bidenomics? And speaking of Bidenomics, remember, Harris has fully embraced Bidenomics. Will she continue to embrace this, or is she going to continue to put distance between her and President Joe Biden and herself? She has to know that the economy has been a complete disaster under Biden-Harris's tenure. Now, let's talk about a big issue in this year's election called fracking. We've talked about that subject on this channel many times now, but it is a very important issue that we all understand. It's definitely a hot button topic, especially in battleground states like Pennsylvania. Kamala Harris has been very outspoken in the recent past, and before she became the vice presidential pick under Joe Biden, she has stated many times, many different ways on many different video clips that she wants to get rid of fracking, she wants to get rid of oil drilling, she wants to ban any and all offshore drilling, including fracking. But now she's trying to win over voters by saying, oh, I've changed my mind. I am no longer against fracking. Especially in Pennsylvania, that is one of the main refrains she keeps bringing up. Hey, folks, I am now for fracking. Don't worry about it. Now, despite her assurances that she is okay with fracking, do you believe it? Because I sure don't. Should any of us believe anything coming out of the mouth of Kamala Harris? Personally, my friends, I think this is nothing more than another example of Kamala Harris. She will say anything and everything she can, that she has to, in order to win presidency of the United States. It's really just that simple. Critics have been very adamant and very quick to point out that there are a ton of clips out there on the internet and otherwise where Harris has unequivocally stated she wants to end fracking, period. And now she wants us to believe she's had a change of heart. Okay, my friends, the truth is, it's clear. Kamala Harris will do anything and everything, not just on fracking, but on a whole list of different subjects, on different policies of the United States. She will do whatever she has to do, say whatever she has to say to become the next president. So remember that when you hear words come out of her mouth. And let's not forget what former President Donald Trump said about all this. President Trump has been very vocal. He has also been discussing the fact that Kamala Harris has flip-flopped on every single subject you can possibly imagine. From the border to taxes, Harris has shifted her positions so many times that it's hard to keep track of what her current position is. And let's not overlook the fact that now she is literally plagiarizing President Donald Trump's promises to America. At a recent campaign stop in Nevada, she did what Donald Trump came up with months ago, and that is promised the folks listening to her that she was going to end any type of taxes on tips. This was a policy that President Donald Trump came up with months ago. It was a proposal of his, an original proposal of his. He went into extreme detail as to how he came up with that proposal, and now she's trying to plagiarize it. She's trying to pass this idea, this policy, off as her own. I think it shows the character, the true character of Kamala Harris. At a minimum, she could at least say, hey, I agree with what President Trump has recently proposed. Hey, I agree. Let's not have any more taxes on tips. But she didn't do that. She simply said to this audience that, hey, let's go ahead and remove any type of taxes on tips. She passed it off as it was her own, and that was a lie. That was the wrong thing to do. But here's the thing. The American people are smarter than this. We see through this facade. We see through the empty promises, the lack of a concrete plan for America, and her blatant flip-flopping on every critical issue. Harris may think she can fool us all by scrubbing the internet, by reinventing herself, by denying her obvious past, but we see through all this, we know what's going on. America is going to notice, and America's not going to allow her to get away with it. Harris thinks she can fool us all by scrubbing her past and reinventing herself as a centrist. But we all know better. This election coming up is not just about electing a president. It's about choosing the future for America. We are literally determining the direction our country is going to take for the next 100 years? Do we want a leader that stands firm on their principles, a leader who has a clear vision for America, and a leader who's not afraid of the truth? Or do we want someone that changes their stance on anything and everything, whichever way the wind blows? Do we want a candidate that will say anything and everything they have to get elected to be the president? Do we want a president that has no real vision for our future? I don't think so, ladies and gentlemen. Kamala Harris's campaign is a campaign of deception. It's a campaign that lacks substance, that lacks a clear vision, and one that is built on a foundation of flip-flopping and pandering. And that's not what our country needs right now. As we head down this road to the election, it's more important than ever that we all stay informed, that we question everything we hear, that we hold our leaders accountable, because the country is at stake. Our future is at stake, and we cannot afford to get it wrong. Kamala Harris is trying to reinvent herself. She's trying to change her history, but the American people will not be fooled. We deserve better, and we can do better. This November, let's make our voices heard loud and clear. Let's reject flip-flopping, reject the deception, and choose a leader who stands firm on their principles and has a real plan for America's future. And ladies and gentlemen, I think that individual clearly is former President Donald Trump. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Please put it in the comments below. We all must do our part to end what I call the evil disease of indoctrination. If you have a family member, friend, whoever that is suffering with indoctrination, be sure to share this video with them. It's very important we get the message out and everybody has all the information so they can make a clear and informed choice. I definitely appreciate taking time to join me today. I don't take it for granted. I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you. I always like to say, my friends, keep that mind free, never give up. Until next time, I am J.R. Dukes.